being a veteran, there's a lot of uncertainty. So the only certainties you have, you kind of dig into and you hold on to. It was very comforting to have a place that I knew I would come back to when all the war stuff was done. This place is kind of at least half my world, and that kind of stability was incredibly important. To someone, these are just numbers on a balance sheet, but to people who live in these places, this is home.
There are a host of issues that revolve around people having a home. If they don't have stable housing, then you have communities that are, in fact, not stable. It leads to instability in the family. It causes health issues. It disrupts education in the schools, and it disrupts communities.
Somehow this rental market has gotten incredibly tight. It's very, very challenging for our clients to find housing.
A lot of the issues that people run into, I think they're just afraid to stand up and fight for themselves. And they feel like they're not being heard.
It's a lot of unfair things that happen to the residents here. If you 5 days late on your rent, they putting a notice on your door. Then you got 30 days to pay your rent, or we're going to ask for repossession of the property. They got to do better by us. They got to do better.
I didn't get an eviction notice. One assumes they were relying a lot on my ignorance and what I was aware of and unaware of in order to just scare me. The speed at which they didn't care, how they became, "You're a great tenant, thank you so much," to, "We need to get rid of you, you're a liability," was pretty hurtful, to be honest.
Tenants are getting these court notices for failure to pay rent very last minute. They're having to show up to court last minute. They're losing money. We also face the issue that not a lot of tenants know their rights, and not a lot of landlords actually know and understand the law. There are some stories that are just so upsetting to me. I did have a client who was about to be evicted over $23, and it's stories like that it just haunts me. The fact that had she not come to us, she most likely would have been out on the streets over just $23.
Before the legislature passed this right to counsel law, many tenants were not represented. And for the most part, folks went into court unaware, unarmed, and oftentimes not able to articulate to the court what defenses that they may have had. And so this law, this right to counsel law, has attempted to change the balance of that. We find many occasions where folks have defenses, of course, that they don't know anything about. And so it's just really important that we provide them with a legal advocate who knows the law, and that they have someone there to articulate the issues that are involved in their particular case in order to get a just result.
Having an attorney with the Tenants' Right to Counsel Project can mean that there's a correction to the amount of rent that they owe. It can mean that there's a dismissal of a case, so it makes a huge difference.
We set up these meetings so that the residents who live in public housing could have a way of expressing their issues and concerns. Once we can make the residents understand that they ultimately have the power and that the only way that they're going to be heard is if they stick up for themselves. We can get them the help that they need to fix the problems that's going on in the community.
You know, a lot of people don't even know that they're entitled to have representation. Somebody to advocate for them. We don't know all the legal terms. You know, you might know a few things, but you still can't advocate for yourself when they got a rack of lawyers and you don't have nobody.
Until our people come together, though, we're never going to get anything done. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If they came together with the attorney and the power, oh, you can stand up now.
I had some time, so I visited Maryland Legal Aid, the downtown office, and Robert sorted me out, basically said, well, they're wrong about this is incorrect, and this is wrong. And then he said, why don't you check and see if their license is up to date? This is the license that allows them to accept rent. The answer was no. They let it expire in 2019. So effectively, we had a magic bullet. The case was dismissed. I was armed with facts, thanks to this group. The new certainty I have now is that, you know, with Maryland Legal Aid, someone has my back. You know, so even if I do lose this place, which could still happen, I still have a degree of certainty, you know, with personnel and people who know what they're doing and who can actually give me some advice and be calm when I'm freaking out. First and foremost, before anything is done, you're reminded that you're a person, that you matter more than paperwork. You matter more than money. And I think that's incredibly important, not just as a service, but, you know, as a general way of treating people.
Don't go to court by yourself when you can have somebody help you. They got the power. When you step up and take the resources that are available, that gives you the power.
I see my job as helping folks to be able to help themselves and to preserve and enforce their rights. Because that gives them then a greater opportunity to do the things that they dream about in terms of their life.